And so start thinking about this. Once we have the commissioners and the permanent secretaries, we are going to deep dive and have some discussion. Prof, what will be helpful is, I believe by tomorrow or so, everybody should have the generic one and start looking at it prior to the session. Additionally, for you to have a coordinating platform that is backed by budget, that is backed by law, you need a bill. Correct? Yeah. So we are also hoping that one of the deliverables from this Lagos activity will be to share a generic bill with you. Good news is that we did this under new map for a decade, and almost all the states under new map established agencies. Kano Road is functioning. I was in Kano and they were pointing their office to me. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to visit them. Okay, so we're going to take something like that, but modify it to fit ACRESAL. The question is, why are we creating all of this? Why are we talking about this platform? If you remember, during design, for the pieces that were here during design, we're asking you to send policies on environment, policies on agri, confirm that you have coordinating platform, confirm this, confirm that. Now is the time to consolidate. And during the presentation, we are going to have a lot of question and answering session, and we'll see how we can put something together before we go. At the federal level, we have met, we sat down upon the directive of Honorable Minister. We sat down with the permanent secretary, and I think the legal person with MPC, and we had some initial discussion. So we want to bring everything together in Lagos, and so that when you're going back, you'll be able to go back with two documents on the policy. One, a generic terms of reference. Secondly, a generic bill, just as a template, because it has to be state specific. You go back to your state, you cook it. And this is where, this is where the partnership with the National Assembly comes in. So if you have not been supporting them, this is the time you're going to answer question. So I will say that for those that I know some states that are doing very well. Adamawa is doing very well in that regard. I know a few that are doing very well when it comes to the National Assembly and the State Assembly specifically. MPC National, I don't think you are doing well. Okay, so this is before you take the bill to them, please ensure that they are, at the end of the day, and you know, during missions I usually will talk about support to the assemblies, the lawmakers. This is where they come, that's their day. Only them can do this. So we need to find a way to start bringing them to the project before you go to them, so that your process will be very smooth. We are hoping that by September or so, before the next mission, not this mission of May, but before the next mission, that almost all the states, we have this coordination platform for sustainability in place. Okay? How many things have I mentioned now? Plenty things. But concretely, deliverables for Lagos. I have mentioned the support to MDAs, and I have mentioned the policy for sustainability. Another deliverable. You see, so this 1 week is not even enough. Last time when in Lagos, it was for almost 2 weeks. Another deliverable will be the validation of the strategic catchment management plans. Clap for the FPM here. Why some people will say this activity has been delayed? I think if we can get these plans validated during this mission, we should be able to say that we are on track and we are on time with this activity. This activity will be done on Friday by the Honorable Minister for Water Resources. He has committed that he will be here in person to do this. And the FPNU, the band, Prof, I think by yesterday told me he's already looking at the document. We are going to be working in parallel to ensure that the documents are in good shape before the validation. Number what activity is that? Clap for MPC. Number 3. Hello. Hi. When I finish talking, you have to dance before you sit down. Like you're sleepy already. Okay. On Thursday is the official session for the steering and technical committee. And the Minister himself, Minister for Environment and Minister for State Agri, have committed to be here. MPC have done a lot of, legwork to the ministries and all of that. And we believe that as of today, we have the confirmation that they will be here for us to bring the meeting together on Thursday. So you see that it's very packed, very, very packed. And we hope that we can deliver on all of these objectives as planned in Lagos. But more than anything, is what we are going to do today and have day tomorrow, which is to look at our work plan. A few of us have reached out on the need to modify their work plans. A few are reaching to Lagos with the shopping baskets, not least. And so we are going to sit down, look at what you have done so far. For us to take more activities, you have to show that the activities that have been declared have been implemented, at least to some certain percentage, maybe 70, 60%. If you fall below 50%, what we are going to do is take away the approved activities that have been delayed. Hello? This is a bad day. This is when I wake up. Hello? Builder, what did I say? Okay. I was quickly going to her. Can you explain when we talk about national budget for a state, what do we mean?
From my own understanding, national will mean that it's conditional. There is a condition precedent. It means that you must do something to be able to get a definite approval. There are steps. You must do 1, 2, 3 to get to 4.
Our communication specialist. A round of applause for him, please. And like the TTL said, she's doing really well. We work together to do a lot more. There's a lot more that needs to be done. So thank you very much.
Yes, some people say it's the PIM, some people will say it's the pad. Yes, but in the PIM and in the pad, there are some sections, there are some versions, there are some sums, am I correct? And that is the results framework, which is a critical part of the project implementation. And to do this, and why are we even doing this? As the TTA will always ask, why are we projecting the project results framework? The results framework gives us an overview, a good idea of how much the project is being implemented, whether we're on track, whether we're below track, or whether we're above track. But what we want to do at the end, to be what? Is it to be on below track? I guess not. On track? Maybe yes. But most importantly, to achieve targets and even surpass the targets. Is there anything after that? Ajay Rekia, is there anything after that? NPC is saying reward. Clap for NPC. If you do well, you get reward. You get rewarded. And some people are being rewarded for the good things they are doing. So is there anything after that? Yes. Most importantly, sustainability. We implement, and even before implementation, we take into cognition of the sustainable measures that need to be in place even before implementation starts. And that's why planning is really important. And not for us to plan, but to plan effectively with the relevant stakeholders. And I'm sure this is everything all states are doing in the project. So please, this is really important, but we urge ourselves to do a lot more to sustain the investments that ACRESAL is implementing, so that not 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, or even 50 years, when you come, you will see ACRESAL trees. You will see the structures, water resources management structures, 50 years, 100 years. Investments are meant to last 100 years, I'm told, the civil works, especially the civil works investments. And we have gone to some states, we have seen some of the work that's been done. So not to bore you with so much information, I'll go straight into the results framework to look at how much it's faring. It's a bit tiny. Can you increase it a bit? I know will happen. Can you reduce, please? Reduce, okay. Okay, starting with the PDO indicators. The first PDO indicator is land area under sustainable landscape management practices. It is the mother of all indicators under the PDO indicators, and it's measured in hectares, and it takes into cognizance of majorly afforestation activities, water resources management activities, the civil works, sand dune stabilization, and the likes and the likes. It is broken down into 5 sub-indicators. It has indicator 1.1, 1.2, up to 1.5. This particular indicator, as at December 2024, we were doing 102,000 hectares, 102,084 hectares. As at May 2025, we are currently doing 154,483 hectares.
Sorry.
In our year 3 target, we are meant to achieve 329,000 hectares. This is not something Mukhtar really sat down and wrote. This is what we discussed during project conceptualization and came to agree that by year 3, we should be able to do 329,000 hectares. So if you look at where we are at the moment, 154,000, you compare it with the year 3 target, and by the way, by the project end target, we are meant to do 830,000 hectares. So if you do an analysis of where we are at the moment, 154,000, compared to the year 3 target of 329, we are doing 47% of year 3 target. Well, if you compare where we are at the moment, 154, you compare it with the project end target, 830,000, we are doing 19%.
I think under the comment section, I think you can come as a line, the contribution per state. So that we see, yes, on the presentation. Yeah, but this as a line under the comments, Kaduna, this comma, you know. I know you have plenty of breakdown matrices, what they are doing and all, which is very important, you know. But for this, as a synopsis, it's good to just have that captured. That's one. Under the comments. Additionally, if you look at 1 million hectares, is a very tall order. And so the coming mission, we need to really sit down and strategize, probably re-strategize. In terms of how we can rethink this, but again, we have hash, we have kit, and all of that, you know, to help. But what can be helpful here, given that the project is a catchment management project with a catchment, integrated catchment management approach, recording the total area per catchment will be very helpful here. Okay? So what this means is that those, and I believe if Sylvester was here, we'll be able to answer this. Those AOIs, the area of interest, you take it, the total number, you put it there, you'll be seeing millions of hectares there. And when it comes to catchment management, it's not site-specific, it's healing. And so we'll be able to tell some kind of stories around there. So two things that I believe is missing is, you know, just a line like what you have there, to, rather than even writing all of this. Yes, you talk about the activities, but when you're mentioning state, the second line will be state and contributions.
Then between 2022 and 2024, 102,000 done. But appear we slow down somewhere. Otherwise, with the speed with which we got to 102, if we had continued, we would have been able to do better. So it would be nice to know what are some of the reasons that stalled the initial surge, and to be able to do that. And I think more importantly, as the detail mentioned, it would be nice to disaggregate which ones are purely just forest, which ones are really integrated, and which ones are the watershed level. I think those are very important, because people want to measure you on that basis. And from this analysis, then you'll be able to know what we should be doing differently from what we are doing, and what the state should emphasize on. But I think it's very important for the state to take note of this real, that first line. It is the major thing of this project. Anything that is not able to show that we're able to upscale to at least 60–70% of this target of 1 million, we will be in trouble for the terminal evaluation.
To interest Prof to know that that frog leap even came from 2 or 3 states. But then that slide will be able to tell us. I think, like the details said, the import of this technical session is states to clearly see our performances and also celebrate the few who have led to the frog leap. More than that, what the TTL is also guiding now is that we can do more by the state noting the fact that it's not going to be restrictive, it's going to be really pervasive based on all of those areas that we've intervened and how the GIS has helped us in capturing all of the areas, hectares covered so far. Are there comments so that Mukhtar can go on? Mukhtar, we need to speed up so that we can catch up, despite the lines.
Thank you. Glad for the emphasis.
We are aware that states have done further implementations, recovered hectares, which are in the process of being verified and validated from the state levels down to the federal level before it's also validated, verified and validated before it is showcased. That has not been completed at the moment, but what we can substantiate confidently is this that is on the screen. In total, 178,235 hectares. That's for the hectares in total. I will try to break it down. As of December, this is what we had. Can you reduce the, can you push it to the left? Yes, it's okay. As of December, this is where we were, according to states. And if you had have the total, it's 235,000 hectares, 121. But as at April, where we have the numbers that we still have, this is where we are, and the total is 178,235. Breaking it down, you can see the variance. Between December 2024 to April 2025, the variance, most of the variance is coming from, a large chunk of it is coming from Bauchi State, 35,484 hectares. And this is really majorly coming from the drainage desilting that Bauchi undertook. Bauchi, am I correct? Okay. Kaduna, 27,691, most of which, a large chunk, is also drainage desilting. We haven't got any further addition at the moment, but we are sure a couple of other activities have been implemented, but the numbers are still not here yet. Taraba 987, most of which include forest management activities in the Labimang forest, a couple of other forests in Taraba State. This is the hectares that have been substantiated, and in addition to some of the afforestation activities implemented in Taraba State. Yobe, 153 hectares, which include some of the afforestation, the shelter belt afforestation activities. Then they went on to do some drainage desilting, Nguru wetland rehabilitation, and now they have started civil works. As at April, they are now at 1,329 hectares. And you can see a variance of 1,176. We are sure it's maybe a lot more than that, but we don't have the numbers yet.
A little bit of concern for me. We are still trying to validate the watershed management plans. We validated one. But you mentioned something like Nguru wetland rehabilitation, Jigawa water desilting, irrigation volume. Within which framework are this being done? Because if you are still saying you have the master plan, not fully implemented, and the states have started to be doing things on their own, how will we be sure that they are operating within this established watershed management plan that may involve one or two states working together as a various? I think we need to look at that one very well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. The comments, please.
Thank you very much. I think the sorting gives us a very clear picture of what is happening. But it would be great to explain what is happening in Castina, where we are having a decrease. So it would be great to explain that. But what we see clearly is that a lot of states are not contributing to the PDU objective of the project. And that is a serious source of concern. And so this work plan activity that we are going to do, we'll have to find a way to focus more on those activities. Like we will tell you, you can do everything. Once your result framework is not as it should be, you have done nothing. You will be evaluated based on your result framework. So we need to really sit down. The states that are contributing nothing, for example, there's no Kwara on the board, there's no Zamfara. We need to know what is happening there. Additionally, some states have not moved at all since December. We want to know why. So we need to kind of classify them, and then we speak to them maybe in group to see, so we have different solutions. He also mentioned that from Bauchi, we are having the jump because of the silting of the drainages. I just want to add a comment that typically a drainage would be a linear activity, oftentimes in kilometers square and all. So it would be great to have somewhere in your narrative the conversion, how all of this was converted to hectares. Okay?
Thank you very much for that observation. I was a bit puzzled too that you are converting the city to hectares of land right away. But I think maybe what you are doing is that you are taking the whole area that is desilted and you are mapping out the whole block plane. That's going to be the, yeah, that need a little bit of explanation because you jumped to one conclusion about Jigawa, which I shook my head. That they desilted the water and that there's not been any flood again. There hasn't been any rainfall since December 2024. So we don't know whether what they did, if we really contain the flood or not. It's after this rainy season that I can really say such a thing has happened. So we need to, there's nothing wrong with what you do and what you did, but once the water is desilted and it needs to properly protect the body, how far can you take the area that is covered from the river itself? Those are the things we need to set. I'm suspecting the issue of Casina and this question of the estimates. They didn't do anything again, and maybe somebody realized that they were estimated by 6.
In here, we'll have to be doing 225 hectares per year for us to meet the target of 890. That is not a small thing to do. So, but what I think we need to do is for every state to look inwards and look at what is available to them, because let's look at it. It is states that own the land. Federal cannot come and do anything there. So since the land is yours, I think you have to do some desegregation to know where you will intervene so you can cover the run rate of 225 hectares per annum if we meet the target of 890. This is critically very important in the sense that this is the period, this is primary data you use to measure the project. Without achieving this, I think we'll be running into some level of embarrassment, which we should all try to avoid. That's my few comments.
They should go liaise with the forestry department, the chief and all those people for land, while the GIS officers will help them get the area accurately, so that at the end of the day, they can now say that, okay, this is the total number of land that we'll be able to secure for our activities. Then they can now say that, okay, we did an approved catchment, so that at the end of the day, those that are targeting for FAO, they can give part of that land to FAO, whilst the other for the other project, I think that they themselves have to contribute. With that, I followed up and I realized that some states were finding it very difficult to get the land, but I don't know what efforts they were actually also making. And I did a follow-up and I realized that there are certain places that they could, which I'm praying that the BC should also empower the committee so that they will be able to reach out to more people. However, I've also realized that some of the activities, because I remember very well that they have certain column plan to do activity, what they are doing and what is yet to be done, which have to follow logic in terms of the CMP. But I've also realized that some are also going outside that. So when it happens like that, it will be difficult for you to now do the measurement, because each catchment has its own number, the size of acres within the catchment. So if you go outside to do an activity and you are not recording it within the catchment that you have taken, when it comes to the result, then you realize that you are doing things outside the box. So it will be very important that we follow the catchment management plan. Those that have submitted know what they have submitted, and some of the activities are not outside the catchment plan activities that you intended to do. So I believe that once we have this opportunity to sit down and look at our work plan again, especially the states that are lacking, that couldn't and have not done anything, should rather focus more attention so that some of the things that they've even listed in their work plan that is not implemented, we drop them and focus on this thing, because this is the yardstick that we are going to be measured on. So this is what I just want to start. Thank you.
The presentation that Mukhtar made about the project, you are to judge. You are not the project. You are an observer. Judge the project.
So as far as the impact assessment, project, for the project, in respect of the 3 components, component A, B, and C. That's my comment now.
Thank you very much for this very opportunity. As far as this presentation is concerned, I am convinced that actually ACRESAL has delivered for the following reasons. The earmarking of 3 years, bearing in mind that actually even the project get approval I think about 2 years ago. And we're here in Lagos, I think precisely 2 years to get our work plan approved. And without the work plan being approved, you cannot start anything. So simply put now, even from the approval of the work plan, we have just worked for 2 years. Each and every single state do have its peculiar problems. Understanding the surrounding environment, understanding what you do, and then above all, the going up and down of your work plan and the approval. Some of the approvals, actually most of us get it maybe this year, even some of them are pending. So as far as I'm concerned, if you stick or parameter that actually you have used, wallahi, you have done well. Watch for 1 year, you will see wonders. Thank you. My suggestion is just watch for 1 year. Some of the yardsticks that you use are not even common to some of us. And some of us operated outside the catchment. I'm 100% there are some issues of under-reporting, this I'm sure. So by the time that we went back home and fine-tuned this thing, you will see hectares flying.
If you go to Kwara today, and my colleagues are here to attest to what I'm saying, everything about land preparation done. I made a solemn pledge to the FME when we visited during our retreat. As I'm talking to you now, we are taking delivery of seedlings. And like I promised, in the next few weeks, you see Kwara's name visibly involved on all presentations that Mukhtar will be making.
I think the performance is still very good, honestly, given all it's really very good, given all the obstacles and so many things on the way. Honestly, the performance is very good.
We can tell you extendedly from the direct beneficiaries and indirect, we are counting well over 10 million beneficiaries, and the numbers are still unfolding. So, by and large, one can say this project is properly managed and that the World Bank has found the need for this investment, and the federal government of Nigeria has been under the stewardship of the Minister of Environment, as supported by the Ministers of Agriculture and Water Resources, have been really captaining this ship in the right direction, to the extent that the 19 state governors and the Minister of FCT have embraced the project, and the project is delivering as fast intervention in areas that touches the lives of the communities and households that this project seeks to deliver. So we're happy to tell the public that This is a veritable project of bankrolled and financed by the World Bank, or has been able to support government policies at the federal and state levels for where these projects are existing.
For more on well-researched and balanced stories, events and interviews across business, tech innovation and lifestyle, please like, share and subscribe to this channel.